going through the steps, you are becoming more aware of yourself. You're listening to yourself. You're exploring yourself. You're going deep and being introspective. You're unlocking all of these memories, these traumas, these experiences. It can get heavy, and sometimes you can get lost in doing that, and that's what makes me want to talk about being grounded and making sure that you get out of your head sometimes. Sometimes we can get so much into our heads to where the thoughts in our mind become our reality. And that can be a dangerous place to be, when you just, totally disconnect from the world to explore what's within. It's definitely necessary to go within, but you can't stay there. I was thinking about this movie called Inception with Leonardo DiCaprio. Came out, many years ago, maybe even a decade ago. It's been a while. Really good movie. And the premise of the movie is it's one of these psychological thrillers, which I love psychological thrillers. And in the movie, it's like they have like this device or something that puts people into like a deep sleep in order for them to like unlock all of these thoughts and things in their head. And it's like, it almost seems like they're really there, right? It's full of action and all of that. You really have to check it out, because I don't think I'm doing such a good job explaining the whole premise of the movie. But what I got out of it was, in the movie, Leonardo DiCaprio's character had a wife, and as they're going through this story, he's remembering his wife and the story is being told of what happened to her, along with the other stuff that's happening in the story as well. But what we learn is that he had a wife, and they couldn't have, I'm assuming that they couldn't have children in real life, and they would go into the inception, this sleep phase that they were doing for people as their clients or whatever. They were using this device to go into these deep sleep states and experiencing these alternate universes created within their minds. And in one of their alternate universe, they created this life where they were together, they were happily married, they had children, they lived on a farm, they had this great, wonderful, happy life. And, they would go in and out of this alternate universe as they, went along their life. And it came to where the wife didn't want to leave the alternate world that they created in their minds anymore, because that alternate world was happier than the real one that they had. Because in her alternate world, she had children that she loved, and they became real to her. But the husband, Leonardo DiCaprio, saw that, we can't stay here, so we have to leave. But it was getting to where she was feeling that she thought that this alternate world was the real world. And in the movie, it's like the way that you can tell, like there's like different, ways you can tell if a world is real or not. And one of the ways is that, you can't die in your alternate world. And if you die, you just, you automatically wake up. So his way of showing her that that world wasn't real, they committed suicide together in that world, which, then woke them up to the real world. And so back in the real world, the wife is now, she's depressed. She's clearly unhappy. She misses her children that she thinks are real in this alternate world. And as the movie goes on, we see that she, ultimately commits suicide because she feels like, oh, well, I'm going to get back to my children. I'm going to get back to this real world. So she kills herself. So that part of the story, it makes me think about, being in your head a lot, the escapism that, we hear a lot about. Escapism, you're unhappy with, the reality that you have. And, in order to escape the pain and all the trauma in real life, you go into your mind and you think happy thoughts, right? You think of, other alternate worlds while, ignoring the world that you're in. Or I don't want to say ignoring, but you're more involved in the world that's inside your head. And as a result, they can be fantasies or, just happy thoughts, just a way of making yourself feel better. And I think a lot of times when, you're trying to work on yourself, improve yourself, or, want to get to understand yourself and dive deep within, sometimes we're faced with the hard to digest truth sometimes of ourselves. And it's hard to cope with those things too. And it's easy to slip into a mode of escapism, to where, what we are going through in our minds can become somewhat of a reality to us. And also the story continues too, because there's another side of it. And it's kind of like the main story, the undertone of the story. Like, you really have to watch the movie. I hope I'm not like boring y'all or giving any spoilers, but just watch the movie. Like, it's one of those movies you can watch over and over again. But as the movie goes on, we also see that Leonardo DiCaprio's character, because he's uncovering all of these pieces of what happened, the story that I just told you about his wife. He's, as the story goes on, he's discovering these little things about his wife, and come to find out that he's in the inception to uncover that trauma that he caused his wife, that, when he convinced her to commit suicide in their alternate world and all these things and all that pain, he had to go way deep inside of himself to uncover that trauma so that he could ultimately let her go, so that she would no longer haunt him, right? So that's the other side of going deep within yourself to uncover, all of these traumas and things so that you can deal with them and ultimately let them go so you can continue to live on. And of course the movie and spoiler, the movie ends where, he's now back with his wife and children, and it just kind of like cuts off to where the audience is left thinking like, oh my gosh, like, did he wake up, or is he still, in the inception, right? Is he stuck in the Inception? Even though he's now found peace, he's at peace now, but is that peace his reality, or is it still his alternate universe? So, and that goes, to, and that made me think about, with self-healing, right? And, going deep into yourself and discovering yourself and healing those traumas, and to not get stuck there. And the way to not get stuck there is you have to have a way to ground yourself to the world that we're in, because the whole point of going within yourself to fix what needs to be fixed, to learn what we need to learn, to have what insight that we need to have, is so that we can take all that information and those lessons and those healings and apply them to the world that we're in, to the present, so that we can move forward to our future. And escapism is almost the downside of manifestation. It's, when you have this vision, I know, a lot of people do the vision board, right? They envision where they want to be in 5 years, and, you're building this, you're building in your mind what you want for your life, you know, and in doing that, you do a lot of introspection. You go inside and you figure out, how are you going to do this thing? And the way that your vision can turn into escapism is if you don't come back to reality and ground yourself in reality and bring those thoughts to reality. And that's by your actions, moving forward in reality to bring forth what you created in your mind. When I think of, the movie where, they would go into these sleep states and, create this, wonderful life inside their minds, but then they wake up and, that life is, in the dream state is, is a different reality. So that is, that's that's the opposite of manifestation. When you have a vision in your mind, but you don't bring it forth to the real world. And that can, I feel that can, what's the word that I'm looking for? Make a person feel stagnant, when, you can envision yourself as what it is that you want to be, or where you want to be, but yet in your reality, you're not there. And you may feel that you're not on that path to get there. And it can be discouraging. It can, it can cause you to be depressed, like the wife was, coming back to reality and missing, her alternate world, because that's where she wants to be. She wants to be what she created in her mind, but in reality, she's not there. And I guess I say all that to say, that's why it's important to ground yourself in reality and not get caught up in escapism, and to get out of your head sometimes, and to work towards manifestation. If there are things that you want for yourself, that you can envision for yourself, make a plan to put that plan into action and to bring that forth to your reality, so that you're not constantly living inside your mind, in order to cope with the negativity or the things that you don't like in reality. So yeah, so those are my thoughts. Just thinking of that, and I think that, everyone has had some experience with escapism at some point in their lives where, you just needed to get away. You just needed to, you couldn't physically get away from, the things that are going on in your life. So you turn inward and, and for that temporary time, you feel better. It's enough to charge you to keep going. And, even for those who are on their, spiritual journey or self-love journey, and, you're being introspective and going inside of yourself to discover who you are in order to be a better person. Sometimes we can get so deep into that to where we are so into our minds and trying to figure out who we are and where these traumas come from and all of these things, to where you don't take time to take a breath from it and to come up for air, you know. And it can be heavy, it can be a lot, and it can drag you down. So it's very important to have that balance. You have to have that balance to where you can be grounded in reality, and you can also go within in order to manifest something better for yourself. So yeah, so that is the end of this episode. And for those of you that have made it this far, thank you so much, and I appreciate you for listening. And until next time, bye.